Welcome to the next video of Handmade. Today I'm going to be making homemade cinnamon rolls. These are great for Christmas morning, Thanksgiving morning, really anytime you want some warm cinnamon rolls. So I've adapted this recipe to try to be a little bit like the Cinnabon recipe, so they're a little bit more gooey than they are bready. I'll start by saying that I'm using instant yeast for this. You can find it in the baking aisle at any grocery store. It just helps cut down on the rise time and makes for like really nice soft and fluffy cinnamon rolls. So here we go. Alright, so our first step is going to be to make the dough, obviously. Since we're using yeast in this recipe, you want to make sure that the milk that goes in this is warmed up. So I just took some whole milk and put it in the microwave for a while and measured the temperature out with my thermometer. If it's anywhere between 110 to 115 degrees, you're good. That will activate the yeast, and I'll kind of show you how you can tell if your yeast is active or not. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to add in our warm milk into the mixer, along with your yeast, and we're going to sprinkle it in there. I'm going to let it kind of just absorb into, and if you see after a minute or so that the milk and the yeast are foaming, that means that your yeast is active and you are ready to go. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to add in the eggs, butter, sugar, and flour. We're just going to kind of lightly combine them until they just come together. And then we will start the kneading process inside the stand mixer. At this point, once all your ingredients are combined, you're going to want to let this sit for 5 minutes just so that the flour can be absorbed, absorb all the liquid ingredients. So just set a timer, wait for 5 minutes, and then we'll put the dough hook on and start kneading the mixture. All right, so after 5 minutes of you letting the dough rest, we are going to put on the dough hook, and I am going to mix this on a medium speed for about 5 to 7 minutes until the dough is kind of tacky, pulls off the side of the bowl, and then once it's done, I'll pull it out and kind of show you the consistency that you're looking for. All right, so here is my dough after it's been kneading with the bread hook in the mixer for about 5 minutes. If you feel it and it is kind of tacky, a little sticky, pulls away a little bit and has completely pulled away from the sides of the bowl, that's when you know it's good to go. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to put it inside of this bowl that I'm going to spray with cooking spray, and I'm going to pop it in our oven that should be pretty warm now, and let it rise for about 30 minutes to an hour or until it's doubled in size. All right, so the prepared dough in the bowl covered up. It's gonna go in this nice warm oven. I'm gonna check on it in about 30 minutes at 130 to see how it is doing in size. So while your dough is rising in the oven, you're gonna make your filling. This filling is really just a stick of butter, melt it down with 2 tablespoons of cinnamon and a cup of packed brown sugar. So we're just gonna mix this all up and set it to the side so that when we roll out our dough, we can spread the filling over the top of it. So while you're waiting for your dough to proof and you've made your filling, the next thing that I like to do is just go ahead and get my workstation ready. So I've floured my countertop lightly and got my rolling pin out so that when this dough is ready, I can turn it out and start rolling it out into a rectangle. All right, so our dough is ready to go. So I'm gonna take it out of this bowl onto the flour, and I'm gonna work it out into about a 24 by 15 inch rectangle. You don't have to be exact, just make sure that it kind of resembles a rectangle. And I am going to trim down the sides of it to make it more of a rectangular shape using a pizza cutter. So the next thing we're going to do is spread our topping, our filling that we made on top. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to start rolling it. So the key to getting really good cinnamon roll is having as much of that swirl as possible in there. So you're going to take your prepared dish and you're going to grease it up a little bit. And then I like to use just a pastry cutter. All right, so these are all done. They're not the most beautiful things that you've probably ever seen, but as long as you get your measurements right for baking the dough, I mean, they're gonna come out beautiful and delicious. So the next part of this process is going to be, again, proofing them. So I'm gonna cover them back up in the towel and stick them back in this warm oven for about 20 minutes until they double in size in here as well, so they'll be nice and tightly packed into each other. All right, so now that these have proofed in the warm oven again, you can see that they have gotten bigger in size. They're all touching each other. So the last step that I like to do before you put these in the oven to bake is I have heated up half a cup of warm cream that I'm going to pour over the top of these. Make sure it's warm. Since we're working with yeast dough, we don't want to put anything cold on it and shock it so it won't rise up in the oven when it bakes. So we're going to preheat the oven to 375 degrees and we're going to bake these for about 20 to 25 minutes. I put them on the bottom rack so that they don't burn so much on the tops. Check them around 20 minutes. If they look like they're getting too brown, put some tin foil over the top and tent them and just bake them off until they're nice and golden brown. While your cinnamon rolls are cooking, you can go ahead and make your cream cheese frosting. So I have a block of cream cheese in here and about a cup of room temperature butter. So I'm going to cream these together and then I'm going to add in a cup of powdered sugar and about 1.5 teaspoons of vanilla. All right, I just took my cinnamon rolls out. They baked for basically 25 minutes. You can see that they've held their shape pretty nicely, so I'm going to let them cool off just a little bit and then spread the cream cheese icing on top.